was removed from the requirements for a chief technical director of the FID when the job was advertised earlier this year. The development comes as the government continues to face criticisms over the selection of Dennis Chung as the chief technical director of the Financial Investigations Division, FID, which investigates financial crimes. As Andrea Chisholm reports, the government is standing by the decision to select Dennis Chung.
This was one of the advertisements for the position of Chief Technical Director of the FID. Job purpose: to guide the strategic, operational and administrative policies, programs and systems of the FID in combating money laundering, terrorist financing, proliferation financing, corruption, and recovering assets obtained from crime or used in the commission of crime. The incumbent is also the chief policy advisor to the Political Directorate on Financial Crimes and should formulate relationships to satisfy Jamaica's international obligations. When the job was first advertised in the Sunday Gleaner in November 2024, 12 years experience in law enforcement or its equivalent was required, and a minimum of 5 years at a senior level of law enforcement or equivalent. But when the job was advertised again in January 2025, it said the ideal candidate should have a postgraduate degree in management, public administration, criminal justice, law, or equivalent qualification. 12 years experience, 5 of which at the senior management level. Problem-solving, leadership and governance skills are also required, as well as knowledge of government's procurement guidelines, law enforcement, legislation, and binding agreements. As reported in Primetime News Thursday, the opposition had issues.
If we look at the history of individuals who have been charged to lead, certainly the FID, you'll see persons who have extensive backgrounds in either law enforcement, financial crimes, anti-money laundering, etc. This is the first time that an individual, while having general accounting and management experience, would be leading the FID without specific investigative experience.
By comparison, Dennis Chung is a weak and unsuitable candidate for this post. And when you look at the January 2025 ad for this post, you will be surprised to see that it looks like a generic management or administrative post, rather than for someone who is a chief technical director in a financial investigative unit.
Former FID bosses included senior police officers such as Calvin Small, Justin Felice, and Selvin Hay. Robin Sykes, who once worked at the Bank of Jamaica, is an expert in anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism. The opposition is therefore calling for Dennis Chung to be replaced as the new head of the FID. The chartered accountant with a 35-year career in senior management roles in both the public and private sectors should take up the FID position on Monday, June 2. In a release on Friday, Finance Minister Favour Williams said characterizing Mr. Chung as just an accountant demonstrates ignorance about the competency and skill set required for the position. She said Mr. Chung has ample relevant education, experience and skills for the position. Minister Williams adds that it would be reckless and dangerous for the government to insert itself into a meritorious process which included advertisement and interviews. The selection process was transparent, the position was advertised, candidates were shortlisted and interviewed, and Mr. Chung was successful. She said the government stands firmly behind Mr. Chung's selection on the basis that due process was observed. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
And as reported, the opposition PNP took issue with Mr. Chung's comments about the Integrity Commission's report on Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. The Integrity Commission insisted that it cannot certify the Prime Minister's assets, liabilities and income unless the FID examines the matter. The report stated that companies linked to the Prime Minister had filed nil tax returns for periods between 2021 and 2022. This was Mr. Chung on Primetime News on September 18, 2024.
Based on what I see, I wouldn't say that there's anything to be alarmed about, right, from just what is in the report. We need to get more details, because the truth is that, as the DPP once wrote in a report, everyone is entitled to their reputation. So you have a burden as someone investigating to show the facts of the case. So I have no reason to doubt it right now. If it's a nil return, I expect that the Income Tax Department, TJ, would have actually done their assessment of it when it was filed, and it was filed 21-22, right? Which means that they would have time to have looked at it, and maybe something was wrong. They would then respond.
And now that Mr. Chung is heading to the FID, the opposition claims there's a perception of bias and he should not take up the post of Chief Technical Director of the FID.